a WikiVidi Documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. First Man, film. First Man is a 2018 American biographical drama film directed by Damien Chazelle and written by Josh Singer, based on the book First Man, The Life of Neil Armstrong by James R. Hansen. The film stars Ryan Gosling as Neil Armstrong, alongside Claire Foy, Jason Clarke, Kyle Chandler, Corey Stoll, Ciarán Hinds, Christopher Abbott, Patrick Fugit, and Lukas Haas, and follows the years leading up to the Apollo 11 mission to the Moon in 1969. Steven Spielberg serves as an executive producer. First Man had its world premiere at the Venice Film Festival on August 29, 2018, and was released in the United States on October 12, 2018, by Universal Pictures. The film received praise for Gosling and Foy's performances and Chazelle's direction, as well as the moon landing sequence. Production. In early 2003, actor-director Clint Eastwood and production people at the studio Warner Brothers bought the film rights to James R. Hansen's First Man, The Life of Neil Armstrong. Eastwood had previously directed as well as starred in the 2000 space-themed picture Space Cowboys, though he stated that he would likely not appear on camera in First Man. Universal and DreamWorks ultimately took up the First Man project in the mid-2010s. Damien Chazelle, who received critical acclaim for his work in 2016's La La Land, signed on to the film's production in 2014, and hired Josh Singer to rewrite an existing script. Gosling, who starred in La La Land, joined as well to portray Armstrong in November 2015, and Hansen was hired to co-produce the film, because of his role as the book's author. Wick Godfrey and Marty Bone also produced the film through Temple Hill Entertainment, and pre-production began in March 2017. Principal photography began in Atlanta in November 2017. To recreate Armstrong's home, the production crew built a replica of it in an empty lot, while the moon landing sequence was shot in a local rock quarry at night. Release. The film had its world premiere at the Venice Film Festival on August 29, 2018. It screened at the Telluride Film Festival on August 31, 2018, and screened at the Toronto International Film Festival on September 9, 2018. It was released in the United States on October 12, 2018, by Universal Pictures. Box office. In the United States and Canada, First Man was released alongside Goosebumps 2, Haunted Halloween and Bad Times at the El Royale, and is projected to gross $18.25 million from 3,600 theaters in its opening weekend. The film made $1.1 million from Thursday night previews at 2,850 theaters. Critical response. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 89% based on 214 reviews, with an average rating of 8.1. The site's critical consensus reads, First Man uses a personal focus to fuel a look back at a pivotal moment in human history and takes audiences on a soaring dramatic journey along the way. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 85 out of 100, based on 52 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Owen Gleberman of Variety called the film so revelatory in its realism, so gritty in its physicality, that it becomes a drama of thrillingly hell-bent danger and obsession. Writing for IndieWire, Michael Nordini awarded the film a B, describing as a powerful experience that will inspire a new awe of what Armstrong and his ilk did. Nordini praised the opening flight sequence, Gosling's performance and Chazelle's direction. Diana Dąbrowska from CinemaScope wrote, Armstrong's trip becomes a means for emotional emancipation, a backdrop for an intimate, universal story about dealing with trauma. Alex Hudson of Exclaim gave the film 8/10 and praised the film's slow pacing and big payoff, writing, "The moon scene is truly jaw-dropping and brilliantly captures the gravity, no pun intended, of that world-changing moment." Nicholas Barber of the BBC gave it a 5-star rating, stating that Gosling and Foy's performances in First Man are probably too unshowy to win awards. But they should, because they could hardly have been bettered. The same goes for the whole of this extraordinary film. Richard Brody of The New Yorker described the film as a right-wing fetish object, stating that it subscribes to the misbegotten political premise that America used to be greater, and that the liberating and equalizing activism of the 60s ignored, dismissed, and even undermined that greatness. Richard Lawson of Vanity Fair criticized Gosling's performance as yet another man of few words. His hooded eyes and pursed lips again meant to signal depth, but instead seeming a bit empty. Though Gosling let some of his sly wit shine through in moments, there's a lot of passive, affectless mean going on in First Man. Stephanie Zacharek of Time said the film as a whole did not live up to Gosling's performance, writing, "This is a respectful movie, even a genuflecting one. There's never a moment when Chazelle fails to let you know he's doing important, valuable work." But that's the problem, the movie feels too fussed over for such a low-key hero. Its star, Ryan Gosling, turns in a discreet, sensitive performance, almost too sensitive for the movie around it. American flag controversy. On August 31, 2018, it was reported that the film would not include a scene of Armstrong and Aldrin planting the American flag on the moon. Florida Senator Marco Rubio described the omission as total lunacy. Chazelle responded with a statement, saying, "I show the American flag standing on the lunar surface, but the flag being physically planted into the surface is one of several moments that I chose not to focus upon." To address the question of whether this was a political statement, the answer is no. My goal with this movie was to share with audiences the unseen, unknown aspects of America's mission to the moon. The Armstrong family also released a statement, saying, "We do not feel this movie is anti-American in the slightest. Quite the opposite. But don't take our word for it. We'd encourage everyone to go see this remarkable film and see for themselves." Producer Wick Godfrey told Deadline Hollywood the scene was not included because Chazelle wanted to be truly emotionally back with the character, Armstrong, and process the emotional journey. Buzz Aldrin, who landed on the moon with Armstrong on Apollo 11, responded to the controversy with a tweet containing the hashtags "Proud to be an American Reader Monona Nation Apollo 11 Uli 1969 Ode to Apollo 50, and 2 photos of him and Armstrong planting the flag on the moon. United States President Donald Trump commented on the film, "It's unfortunate. It's almost like they're embarrassed at the achievement coming from America. I think it's a terrible thing. When you think of Neil Armstrong, and when you think of the landing on the moon, you think about the American flag. For that reason, I wouldn't even want to watch the movie." Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?